our first reading after Prophet Nathan had spoken to King David about this prophecy of the Lord, that the Lord would establish the house of David forever. David says here in our text today, goes and sits before the Lord and offers this prayer that we get as our first reading. And this idea of going to sit before the Lord is, again, I think, very good idea. It's good to sit before the Lord. It is good to come into the Lord's presence and to spend that time with Him, prayer and contemplation, to formulate what is in our heart, to express it to God in that love and that gratitude and that petition. And this is part of what we are to do at adoration. This is what adoration is meant to be. It's to go and sit before the Lord, to sit with the Lord, to offer those prayers from our heart. And yet, even as David goes into the tabernacle, the tent of the Lord, and sits before Him and prays, this reading that we have, we get like the first couple verses of his prayer, and then we get the end of the prayer, and it omits about 4 or 5 verses in the middle of that prayer where, again, it's just shortened. And it's kind of an interesting choice, because it's not like this first reading is that long that you couldn't add another 4 verses in there and just extend it and conclude that entirety of that prayer of David here. But I think maybe part of the reason that they omit it is because it could be said to maybe duplicate some of the things that we would have heard yesterday from that first reading yesterday. We had not used the readings for the saint yesterday. But it is good to recognize that, again, if you want to do some homework assignment, go home, pull up this passage in your Bible or online and read that entirety of prayer. But having those omitted verses gives us maybe another method of contemplating a little bit about adoration and prayer itself. Because if you've been in adoration, if you spent a holy hour with the Lord, if you spent time in silence with God, and if you've expressed those prayers from your heart, you probably know that none of us, or very few of us anyway, are so perfect or precise in our prayer that prayer, or those words that come to our heart or to our minds or to our lips as we express them before the Lord, are very seldom perfectly structured and ordered. And if you were just to record them or write them down, that would make this perfect prayer and beautifully expressed and all these things. Most times we go in and we have a desire, an expression in our heart, and we offer it in some ways to the best we can, and maybe it's not perfect. We kind of circle back to it, and maybe we adjust or express it in different ways, or we move in our prayer time and kind of circle around that theme or that idea or what is going on in our hearts. And maybe, if we're lucky, by the end of our holy hour, maybe it does kind of coalesce into a prayer. But very oftentimes we get parts of it that maybe express certain areas, and then maybe just a couple of jumble of stuff, and then maybe some new expression or a new way of relating that to our lives, and we continue to move on in this way. And if you were to take that holy hour and condense it down and write a prayer later, it would probably be a lot shorter. It wouldn't take you a whole hour to read it. It would probably be about that passage, at least for me, of David's prayer to the Lord in our first reading. And I think that's okay too, to know that we don't always have the words. And sometimes in our fumbling for the words or that expression of what is truly going on, what it is that we truly seek, or even struggling to express our gratitude or our love, it is good to wrestle with those things. It is good to take time with them. It is good, even if it's not perfect or maybe not as ideal as we might be, because that expression of prayer helps us grow closer to God. It helps us identify what is going on in us, what the Lord is doing in us. And it helps us learn how to express it before Him, so that that prayer might truly be from the heart. That prayer truly might help us grow in the spiritual life and what it means to have a relationship with God. So yes, sometimes it is okay to omit some pieces or to see that maybe they're not perfectly stated, or maybe they are repetitions of what we said earlier. And to, again, end of the day, when you leave your holy hour, when you leave that time in prayer before the Lord, can you summarize? Say, this is what has been going on in my heart. And if I had to write a prayer, if I had to write an expression, if I had to write a journal, a prayer journal about what took place in this time, how would it look? And the real question is, how would that improve your prayer